you ever felt crushed under the weight of emotional attachment? Like you're caught inside a loop that feels impossible to escape? You're not alone. So many people wrestle with the challenge of letting go, feeling stuck and powerless within their emotions. But here's the good news. Change isn't just possible, it's absolutely within your reach. Drawing inspiration from the timeless teachings of ancient Stoic philosophers such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, this video presents 10 powerful Stoic rules that can guide you in emotionally detaching from someone. But why is detachment so life-changing? As Seneca wisely stated, "He who is brave is free." Detachment isn't about becoming unfeeling or distant. It's about uncovering strength and clarity from within. In this video, we'll walk through meaningful Stoic principles that can lead you down the path toward emotional freedom. By applying these habits in your daily routine, you'll discover effective, practical strategies to gradually release the grip of emotional attachment. This shift allows you to reclaim your peace of mind and shift your focus toward what genuinely matters. Picture yourself stepping away from the mental chains that have held you back, welcoming a renewed sense of focus and inner clarity. Through Stoicism's teachings, you can develop the resilience and wisdom needed to manage your emotions. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When you start applying these ideas, you begin to prioritize your inner peace over the chaos of external situations. So, are you ready to free yourself from the emotional chains and lean into the power of personal growth? If the answer is yes, this video is made for you. Together, we'll walk through 10 Stoic habits that will completely reshape the way you approach emotional detachment. Let's begin by asking a simple yet powerful question. What is it that truly holds value in our lives, if not the peace we hold within our minds? Join us in this exploration of Stoic rules that pave a meaningful path toward emotional freedom and a liberated mindset. If you find this video insightful or helpful, hit the subscribe button and become a part of our community. We'd love to know what you think. Drop a comment below. And if you're not sure what to say, just type "Emotional freedom starts now." Let's dive in and walk this journey of emotional liberation together. Rule number 1, the power of detachment. Have you ever had the sense that your emotions were being controlled, like someone else was holding the strings, pulling them whenever they wanted? Have you ever questioned just how much of your control you've handed over to others simply because of emotional attachments? This is where the true strength of detachment begins to show itself. Detachment doesn't mean that you no longer care. It means that you begin living a life where your peace and happiness are no longer dictated by what happens outside of you. But why does detachment have such a powerful effect? Think of the wisdom passed down by Epictetus, who once said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." Detachment, at its core, is about taking back your power. It's about understanding that while you may not be able to control the world around you, you can always control how you respond to it. When we hold on too tightly to people or to outcomes, we often give them control over our emotional well-being. It's like giving someone else the remote control to your feelings, allowing them to switch your moods at will. Their presence or absence, their words or silence, can suddenly dictate your joy or sorrow, and in some extreme cases, push you toward decisions you can't undo. Detachment is the process of taking back that remote, deciding for yourself which channels you want to tune into. Think of your emotions as a kite. Each string represents a connection, to people, to situations, to expectations. The more strings you cling to, or the tighter you grip one in particular, the more you allow the wind to control your direction. Stoicism teaches us to ease our grip, to understand that while we can't change the direction of the wind, we do get to choose which strings we hold onto. This mindset doesn't make you unfeeling or disconnected. It makes you centered, grounded, and emotionally strong. Now, let's put this into action. Start by honestly identifying the people or situations you're overly attached to. Ask yourself why. Are you craving validation? Are you afraid of loneliness? Or is there another underlying fear that's driving the attachment? Understanding the root cause is the first key step toward releasing its hold on you. Next, begin to focus your time and energy on activities that bring a true sense of purpose and fulfillment. By placing your attention on what's within your control and letting go of the rest, you begin to anchor yourself more firmly in your values and inner strength. As you embrace the practice of detachment, your perspective will shift. You'll start to realize that your value doesn't come from external situations. It's inherent, unshakable, and entirely yours. This shift empowers you to walk forward with a clearer mind and a braver heart, no longer weighed down by the need to hold on. Remember what Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Practicing detachment doesn't mean stepping away from life. It means stepping into it more fully, with steadiness and clarity. Rule number 2, understanding attachment. Have you ever stopped to wonder why we hold on so tightly to certain people or experiences, even when they clearly bring us more pain than peace? What exactly fuels that deep need to cling? And more importantly, how can we begin to release ourselves from it? Gaining clarity about what attachment really is becomes an essential part of the path toward emotional detachment and lasting personal freedom. Let's take a moment to reflect on the core of attachment. At its root, it's often tied to the ego. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once remarked, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." These words cut straight to the heart of attachment, our endless desires, our constant seeking of things we believe we need. Whether it's love, approval, security, or identity, we often chase these things through people and external circumstances. Consider for a moment a newborn child, full of joy, untouched by ego or complexity. But as we grow older, our ego slowly steps in and starts to run the show. It begins to layer our lives with attachments, to people, to objects, to ideals that we think will complete us. These layers start to cloud our inner clarity and pull us further from our natural state of self-sufficiency and contentment. Have you ever noticed yourself feeling like your happiness depends on someone else being there or approving of you? That's a sure sign of ego-fueled attachment. The journey toward emotional freedom begins when we recognize those patterns for what they are. Start asking yourself, why am I so attached to this person or outcome? What fear is feeding this attachment? Is it a fear of being alone, of not being good enough, or of losing control? When you begin to explore these questions with honesty, the grip of attachment starts to loosen. Now imagine a life driven not by ego, but by love. What if you trusted in the natural abundance of the universe? In the idea that whatever is meant for you will never miss you. That shift in mindset is both empowering and liberating. It helps you stop chasing and start allowing. As you begin seeing your relationships and desires through this lens, you'll likely realize how much unnecessary weight you've been carrying. The belief that you're lacking something essential is what feeds attachment. But embracing abundance, the idea that there's more than enough joy, connection, and opportunity for everyone, helps you detach in a healthy, balanced way. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you finally understand. You come back to your essence. And your essence isn't built on fear, it's rooted in love, trust, and inner wholeness. Detachment then becomes less about walking away from people and more about walking back to yourself. This kind of transformation is subtle but incredibly powerful. It's about peeling back the layers of ego to reveal the resilient, compassionate self beneath. It's about moving through life with lightness, no longer bound by fears of loss, but open to receiving whatever comes next with grace and an open heart. When you place your inner peace above the need for external validation, everything begins to change. You step into a life that's rooted in true freedom, and that's where your deepest fulfillment lives. Rule number 3, the illusion of control. Have you ever caught yourself believing that your happiness depends on how someone else acts or feels toward you? Do you ever feel like, if you just try hard enough, you can somehow manage the outcome of your relationships or emotional experiences? This is something many of us go through, falling into the trap of the illusion of control. One of the biggest misconceptions we carry is that with enough effort, we can influence how others feel or behave. Our ego loves this illusion. It convinces us that we can bend reality to our will if we just push a little harder or give a little more. But this mindset leads us straight into emotional dependence. where our peace of mind becomes tethered to factors we were never meant to control in the first place. Epictetus, a voice of clarity in Stoic philosophy, offered us a simple truth. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters. These words reflect a core Stoic idea, one that reminds us where real power lies. While we may not be able to determine what unfolds around us, we always have control over how we choose to respond. When you believe you can control outcomes, you start placing people on pedestals. You give them the power to validate or diminish your worth. This creates a distorted view where someone else seems to hold the key to your happiness. But when you strip away that illusion, what remains is the simple truth. No one is inherently more valuable, more capable, or more worthy than you. We're all human, equally flawed, and equally whole. To begin letting go of this illusion, start by acknowledging how much of your energy has gone into trying to manage what's beyond your reach. That realization, though humbling, can be incredibly freeing. When you stop trying to control how others act or think, you get to redirect that energy inward, toward your own thoughts, your own growth, and your own emotional stability. By making this shift, you build confidence, not from the approval of others, but from within. Instead of searching for validation outside yourself, you can practice self-affirmation. Remind yourself regularly of your strengths, your values, and your ability to create a meaningful life on your own terms. This ties into another profound teaching from Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By adopting this mindset, you begin to accept that peace doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering how you engage with it. An abundance mindset also plays a powerful role in this transformation. When you recognize that love, happiness, and success aren't scarce resources, your grip on one person or one outcome begins to loosen. You realize that letting go of one thing doesn't mean you'll have nothing. It just means you've made space for something better to arrive. In relationships, this gives you the freedom to love without clinging, to connect without losing yourself. You stop chasing approval and instead show up as your whole, authentic self, secure in your worth and emotionally free. Remember, emotional detachment is not about shutting down. It's about waking up to the reality that your peace, your joy, and your sense of self have never been in anyone else's hands but your own. And that's where your true power has been all along. Rule number 4, detachment in practice. Have you ever found yourself stuck, holding tightly to a past relationship or experience, even when you know it's causing more harm than good? Maybe you've asked yourself what would happen if you finally let go. It's something many of us wrestle with, gripping something so tightly that it starts to hurt, yet still being too afraid to release it. But what if letting go doesn't mean losing, but actually gaining something far more aligned with who you're becoming? Putting detachment into practice is where theory becomes transformation. Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. And the same idea applies to emotional life. Are you ready to loosen your grip on what's already slipping through your fingers and make space for what's yet to come? Picture this. You're hanging onto a rope so tightly your hands begin to ache. You're afraid that if you let go, you'll fall. But in truth, letting go doesn't always mean falling. Sometimes it means your hands are finally free to stretch out, to heal, to reach for something better. I had to learn that firsthand. I held on to a relationship that felt familiar and safe, not realizing that in doing so, I was closing myself off to something more meaningful, something that had been trying to reach me the whole time. And that's where fear comes in, particularly the fear of missing out, or FOMO. It can trap us, making us believe that everyone else is living their best life while we're being left behind. But here's the truth. Social media only shows us a curated version of reality. It's a highlight reel, not the full movie. When I stopped scrolling through other people's stories and started writing my own, the fear began to dissolve. FOMO lost its grip. Do you find yourself constantly comparing your life to someone else's filtered version? It's time to step away from that illusion. Not knowing the details of someone else's life isn't a loss, it's a gift. It allows you to be fully present in your own life, making your own memories instead of watching someone else's. Clinging to a false picture of happiness, an image shaped by comparisons and assumptions, can make letting go feel impossible. But remember, the grass always seems greener from a distance. Up close, every lawn has its patches. The perfection you think others are living is often just an illusion, and chasing it only robs you of the joy already within your reach. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on happiness. It means redefining happiness on your own terms. Follow the Stoic path. Focus on what's within your control, your mindset, your actions, your growth. That shift is powerful. It helps you realize that your happiness isn't tied to someone's presence, a past memory, or a filtered photo. It's tied to the way you choose to live right now. Detachment practiced this way isn't cold or distant. It's rooted in self-awareness and self-respect. It's the realization that you don't need anything outside yourself to feel complete. That nothing or no one gets to dictate your peace unless you hand them that permission. So let go, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring enough about your own well-being to stop holding on to what's already gone. Free from the weight of unnecessary attachments, you open yourself to something real, something genuine and deeply fulfilling, just around the corner. Rule number 5, the path to happiness. Have you ever noticed how true happiness always seems to stay just a step ahead, tied to something or someone outside yourself? As if it's waiting on someone else's approval or some perfect moment to arrive? But what if lasting happiness isn't found out there at all, but rather already exists within you, quiet, steady, and untouched by outside influence? In this part, we're diving into the Stoic path toward happiness, and how emotional detachment plays a crucial role in leading us to a deeper, more grounded kind of joy. So, where does real value come from? That question alone has the power to shift us, from being chained to external attachments to finding inner freedom. Epictetus offers us timeless clarity here. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This speaks to something essential. It's not what we have or who we hold on to, but what we believe we need that shapes our happiness. When it comes to detaching from someone emotionally, this understanding becomes even more powerful. It's not about walking away with bitterness or shutting yourself off. It's about realizing that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you build with yourself. And from that place of self-connection, everything else begins to realign. Your value doesn't rise and fall with someone's presence in your life. And your worth isn't boosted by their attention or diminished by their absence. Yet how often do we unknowingly live like that's the case? As if our light shines brighter or dimmer depending on who's standing beside us. But that's not the truth. Think of a bird that forgets it has wings, believing it needs someone else's permission to fly. That's what emotional dependence can feel like. But once you remember that the sky has always been open, always waiting, something shifts. You realize that freedom isn't given to you by others. It's something you already hold. That's what detachment is all about. Not shutting people out, but getting closer to your own essence. You stop chasing validation and start focusing on becoming the strongest, truest version of yourself. Imagine tending to a garden, not because you're hoping one single flower will bloom perfectly, but because you trust the process. You nourish the soil, water the roots, and let whatever grows, grow. That's what personal growth looks like. And in that growth, you create beauty that doesn't rely on who chooses to notice or stay. You become your own source of peace, your own measure of joy. So how do we walk this path? It starts with recognizing that you are already whole, that no one else's affection or absence can complete or diminish you. Your journey is about exploring the vastness of your own sky, about discovering joy that doesn't fade when someone walks away. The Stoics remind us again and again, focus on what's within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your choices. This doesn't mean closing your heart, it means anchoring it. So that love, when it arrives, is met with stability, not desperation. Your self-worth isn't a puzzle missing someone else's piece. It's a complete work of art, one you're still painting, still shaping. And though others may add to its beauty, its value was never dependent on their brush. Rule number 6, embrace the present moment. Do you often find yourself lost in memories of what once was, or consumed by worry over what might happen next? If so, you're not alone. Many of us get caught up in either the past or the future, rarely stopping to fully experience the one place where life is actually happening, right now. Learning to embrace the present moment is one of the most powerful ways to loosen the grip of emotional attachment. It's a practice deeply rooted in Stoic wisdom and essential for finding peace within yourself. The renowned Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius put it simply but profoundly: confine yourself to the present. Those words are a compass, pointing us back to ourselves whenever we drift too far into regret or anticipation. When you linger in the past, it's easy to replay painful memories or long for something that no longer exists. And when your mind is always fast-forwarding into the future, it can generate anxiety about events that haven't happened and might never happen. In both cases, you're pulled away from the only space where true clarity, peace, and joy reside: the here and now. That's where mindfulness comes in. Practicing mindfulness means turning your full attention to whatever you're doing in this moment, without judgment. Whether you're eating, walking, or speaking with someone, bring your awareness fully to the experience. Notice the taste of your food, the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, the tone of the other person's voice. These simple acts of presence reconnect you with reality, and in doing so, help you release your attachment to what no longer is or what has yet to come. Even short, intentional practices can make a big difference. Meditation is one of the most effective ways to strengthen your presence. Breathing exercises, for example, help center your mind and bring you back to the present. Try giving just a few minutes each day to these small rituals. Over time, you'll find your attention drifting less toward the past and future and settling more naturally into now. Living in the present also means recognizing and appreciating what you already have. Gratitude plays a big part in this. Instead of focusing on what's missing or what could be better, shift your awareness to what's good and grounded in your life right now. It might be a supportive friend, a peaceful morning, or simply the fact that you've made it through tough times. These acknowledgments may seem small, but they're incredibly powerful. This shift in focus from what's lacking to what's abundant makes it easier to detach from emotional anchors that weigh you down. When you're rooted in the present, you stop chasing illusions, you stop clinging to what used to be, and you stop fearing what could go wrong. You start living with clarity and intention. By making the present moment your home, you build a steady emotional foundation, one that isn't shaken by the past or stirred by the future. You learn to face each moment with calm, presence, and openness, experiencing life as it unfolds, not as a memory and not as a worry, but as a living truth. Rule number 7, reframe your thoughts. Have you ever noticed how the way you think about something can completely change how you feel about it? Our thoughts have immense power. They color our emotions, shape our perspective, and even determine how attached we become to someone or something. That's why learning to reframe your thoughts is such a vital step toward emotional detachment. It's not just about thinking positively, it's about recognizing that your mind holds the paintbrush, and every thought is a stroke on the canvas of your inner world. Marcus Aurelius captured it beautifully when he said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What that means is simple: change the way you think, and you change the way you experience life. Start by paying attention to the stories you're telling yourself, the ones that keep you stuck, hurting, or overly attached. Thoughts like, "I can't live without this person," or "I'll never find someone else," may seem true in the moment, but when you really look at them, you'll often find they're just mental loops that have been playing too long. They're not truths, they're habits. Once you identify those patterns, it's time to question them. Ask yourself, is this thought absolutely true? What evidence do I have? What if the opposite were just as believable? You'll probably start to see cracks in the belief, places where light can come in, and once those cracks appear, that's where you begin to reshape the thought. Replace "I can't live without this person" with "I'm capable of finding peace and fulfillment on my own." Instead of saying, "I'll never find anyone else," try, "There are endless possibilities for love and connection ahead of me." These aren't just feel-good phrases. They're reminders that your strength isn't tied to someone else's presence. But don't stop at just thinking new thoughts. Reinforce them. Practice daily affirmations. Write down the beliefs that empower you and read them out loud, even if it feels strange at first. Over time, these new mental scripts become more familiar. They start to reshape the landscape of your mind. You can also pair this with mindfulness. Techniques like meditation allow you to notice thoughts as they arise, without judgment. You become an observer rather than a participant. And that awareness alone gives you the space to choose your response, instead of being swept away by old emotional reactions. Reframing your thoughts isn't something you do once and never think about again. It's a consistent practice, a gentle, intentional shift that builds real emotional strength over time. By replacing the thoughts that keep you chained with ones that lift you up, you slowly reclaim your power. And with that shift, emotional detachment begins to feel less like letting go of something and more like holding on to your own peace. You begin to see yourself not as someone who lost something, but as someone who has gained clarity, calm, and control. Rule number 8, set healthy boundaries. Do you ever find it hard to say no, even when you know you should? Or feel guilty for protecting your time, energy, or emotional space? If so, you're not alone. One of the most overlooked but essential parts of emotional detachment is the ability to set clear, healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not about building walls, they're about drawing lines that define where you end and someone else begins. They're the quiet declarations of self-respect, the guidelines you set to protect your peace and preserve your sense of self. And when you're trying to emotionally detach, boundaries become not just helpful, they become necessary. Think about it. Without boundaries, your emotions are left wide open, vulnerable to the whims, moods, and actions of other people. It becomes easy to lose sight of yourself, what you want, what you need, what you value, because someone else's voice starts to speak louder than your own. Setting boundaries begins with clarity. You have to first understand what behaviors feel draining or disrespectful to you. What situations leave you feeling anxious, resentful, or depleted? Once you've identified those patterns, you can start drawing the line. And the line doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be clear. Communicate your limits calmly but firmly. Whether it's telling someone you need space, expressing that you're unavailable, or simply choosing not to engage in a certain conversation, it's all about honoring your own well-being. You're not being cold or selfish, you're protecting the emotional ecosystem that allows you to thrive. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control other people, only our own responses. And boundaries are the manifestation of that teaching. They allow you to step back from the idea that someone else's approval, time, or attention is the currency of your happiness. They give you room to breathe. When you set and uphold boundaries consistently, you start to feel more grounded. You stop seeking validation through overextension. You stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no. You create space for healthier, more balanced relationships built on mutual respect rather than emotional overreach. Remember, boundaries are not about keeping people out. They're about keeping yourself in integrity, in peace, in emotional alignment with what truly matters to you. Over time, as you practice this, you'll find your detachment grows naturally because you're no longer living reactively, you're living intentionally, with clarity, with self-awareness, and most importantly, with the quiet confidence that your emotional safety isn't up for negotiation. Rule number 9, engage in self-care. In the hustle of daily life, it's easy to forget the most important thing, your well-being. We spend so much time giving to others, whether it's our friends, our families, our careers, that we sometimes forget to give to ourselves. But if you're on a path of emotional detachment, self-care isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. Self-care is often misunderstood as indulgence, as bubble baths or expensive spa days, though if you enjoy those, go for it. True self-care goes beyond pampering. It's about nourishing your body, mind, and spirit in a way that rejuvenates your entire being. It's the act of listening to your inner needs and responding with kindness and respect. Self-care starts with creating space for yourself, space that's free of obligations, expectations, and external noise. Think about the last time you took a moment just for you, without worrying about anyone else's needs or demands. How did it feel? That feeling of peace, of quieting the world for a while? That's the energy you need to cultivate when emotionally detaching. Part of engaging in self-care is honoring your emotions without judgment. We're all wired to feel things deeply, and sometimes we suppress our feelings because we don't want to appear weak or vulnerable. But self-care means allowing yourself the time and space to process what you're feeling, whether you're sad, angry, or joyful. Acknowledging and embracing your emotions without shame is an act of profound self-compassion. The foundation of self-care also lies in what you're feeding yourself, both physically and mentally. Your body is the only home you truly have, so treat it with love. Eat nourishing foods, rest when you need to, and move your body in ways that make you feel strong and alive. But don't stop there. Feed your mind too. Engage with ideas, books, or activities that stimulate your intellect and nourish your soul. Surround yourself with what uplifts you, rather than what drains you. Another crucial aspect of self-care is disconnecting from the distractions that pull you away from your center. In our hyper-connected world, it's easy to get lost in screens, social media, or the expectations of others. Take time to step back from the digital noise. Be present with yourself, with your thoughts, with the quiet moments that offer true restoration. Disconnecting doesn't just mean turning off your phone. It means reconnecting with the essence of who you are, without the outside world's influence. Above all, self-care is about setting boundaries with love. It's about knowing when you've given enough and when it's time to replenish. It's about nurturing the emotional and physical energy that allows you to show up as your best self, not just for others, but for you. As you practice this form of self-care, remember that it's not a selfish act. On the contrary, it's an essential part of your emotional detachment journey. By taking care of yourself, you're giving yourself the tools to heal, to grow, and to live authentically. You're honoring the fact that your emotional energy is precious, and it deserves to be treated with the utmost care and respect. When you engage in true self-care, you'll find that you're more capable of responding to life's challenges with calm and clarity. You'll be able to emotionally detach from the drama and distractions around you because you've made the time to root yourself in peace. And as a result, you'll carry that peace into every aspect of your life. Rule number 10. Practice gratitude. In the quest for emotional detachment, it can sometimes feel like the world is full of chaos, obligations, and things that drain you. It's easy to focus on what's missing or what's causing frustration. But emotional detachment is not just about stepping away from negativity. It's about intentionally creating space for the good in your life. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is by practicing gratitude. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you or acknowledging the good in your life when things are going well. It's a conscious, ongoing practice, a mindset that shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's present, abundant, and beautiful, no matter how small. When you practice gratitude, you begin to see life through a lens of appreciation, where even the most mundane moments can feel sacred. Take a moment right now to reflect on something in your life that you're grateful for. It might be a person, an experience, a lesson learned, or even the simple fact that you're alive today. As you sit with that feeling, notice how it shifts your energy. Gratitude has the ability to transform your state of mind and spirit, even in the midst of uncertainty or hardship. When you consciously practice gratitude, you begin to detach from negative emotions and limiting thoughts. Instead of fixating on what's wrong or unfair, you open yourself to the richness of what you already have. It's a reminder that even when life presents challenges, there are always reasons to feel thankful. Whether it's the support of a friend, the beauty of a sunset, or the comfort of a warm cup of tea on a cold day. But the true magic of gratitude comes when you cultivate it as a daily practice. Start small, maybe with a gratitude journal, where you write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. These don't have to be grand gestures or life-changing events. It can be as simple as the sound of birds chirping in the morning or a kind word from a stranger. Over time, this practice will help you to retrain your brain to focus on the positive, no matter what external circumstances may arise. Gratitude is not about ignoring the difficulties you face or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about balancing the scale. By choosing to focus on what you're grateful for, you not only shift your energy but also increase your emotional resilience. Gratitude allows you to meet life's challenges with a sense of perspective, making it easier to detach from what drains you and center yourself in what nourishes you. As you practice gratitude, you'll also notice how it enhances your relationships. When you express gratitude to those around you, whether in words or actions, you invite more love, kindness, and connection into your life. People are drawn to those who appreciate them, and gratitude has the power to deepen bonds and foster understanding. Ultimately, gratitude is a form of emotional detachment in itself. It detaches you from the grip of negativity, fear, and scarcity, replacing those feelings with abundance, peace, and joy. The more you practice gratitude, the more you'll realize that detachment isn't about disconnecting from life. It's about connecting to life in a deeper, more meaningful way. By weaving gratitude into the fabric of your daily existence, you begin to align yourself with the present moment. You let go of the past and stop worrying about the future, choosing instead to celebrate what is right here, right now. And in doing so, you cultivate the emotional strength and clarity needed to move through life with grace, peace, and an open heart. By embracing gratitude, you elevate your emotional well-being, fostering a deeper connection to life and an unwavering sense of peace. As you practice this rule, remember that detachment isn't about withdrawing. It's about freeing yourself from what doesn't serve you and making room for what truly matters. Let gratitude be your guide as you navigate life's journey, transforming each moment with appreciation and mindfulness. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.